So we're going to look at the equation of a circle so that you can actually graph it. Most graphing calculators can handle it. Some you just have to manipulate it so you can actually graph it in your calculator. But when you graph a circle, you need the equation of the circle. The equation is going to include the center of the circle, which we're going to use the letters H and K. And it's also going to include the radius. Now, the official definition of a circle is it's all the points that are a fixed distance, the radius, from a certain center. So you can think about any string or rope or chain or anything that's tied to something. That rope or chain or whatever can travel in a circle. So if you've ever played tetherball, there's a ball on a rope. You hit that ball, the ball goes around in a circle because of the rope. The rope is the radius. The ball can only travel in a circle. The dog tied to a leash, that dog can only run in a circle because the leash is attached to something. What else? A sprinkler, which we talked about in one of the previous lessons. If a sprinkler, it's fixed, sprinklers don't move, spins around in a circle. The radius, the distance that the water travels out, is only going to create a circle, or a portion of a circle, maybe. So, whenever you have a fixed point and all the points are the same distance away, you get a circle. That's also the way a compass works when you're using the compass. You set the distance by stretching it open, and then you spin it around to get all the points that are that certain distance away. So, when you have the equation, like we said, we've got the center HK and the radius R. That's how you get the equation for a circle also. X minus H, Y minus K, and radius squared. Everything is squared. X minus H squared, Y minus K squared equals R squared. So you get the center and the radius. Center and the radius from the equation. So if we know the center and we know the radius, we can plug it all in to write the equation in what's called general form. We're going to write the equation of the circle. There's the general equation of the circle. That's just what it looks like. So we plug in H and K. Remember, the first coordinate is H, the second coordinate is K. The only thing you have to be slightly careful of is the minus that's built into the equation. So you have x minus negative 2. Minus a negative actually turns to plus 2. And we have y minus 5. Equals the radius squared. The radius is 3. Square that, you get 9. That's the equation of that circle. Do the same thing for B down here. X minus, remember this is H, this is K, so X minus 4. Y minus negative 1, so that's plus 1. Equals the radius squared. So the square root of 5 squared is just 5. Squares cancel out square roots. So this next one's a little bit trickier. Suppose a circle with the equation is translated x plus 3, y minus 1. So think about what this equation is telling you. It has the center x minus h, so 2. Remember, the signs are always opposite because of the minus that's built into the equation. And then this would be a negative 4. 2 comma negative 4 is the center. So if we move that center using this rule, this is saying you go 3 to the right and down 1, or you add 3 to the x and you subtract 1 from the y. Our new center goes to 5, and then negative 4 minus 1 will be negative 5. That's our new center. After the translation, that's the new center. The radius does not change, so this 7 over here is going to stay the same. It's going to stay a 7 because we didn't dilate it, we just moved it. So the equation then is x minus h, so x minus 5, and y minus k is negative 5, so minus and negative turns plus. So there's the equation after you translate it. The center goes from 2, negative 4 to 5, negative 5. And that's what the equation would look like with that center. It's kind of a similar question here. We know the center and the radius, so we just have to plug it all in. X minus 4 squared. And then we do the y minus the y coordinate equals the radius squared. 4 squared is 16. So we plug everything in here. Now it's minus a negative 1, so that turns to plus 1. And y minus negative 1, so that turns plus 1. And then the radius, square root of 3 squared. The square just cancels the square root, so we just get 3. So the next thing we're going to look at is going from a different look for the equation of a circle into the formula that we've been used to. So this x squared minus 4x plus y squared plus 2y equals 20. The goal is that we're going to convert that into the form that we've been dealing with, where it looks like x minus something squared, y minus something squared equals the radius squared. So in order to do that, we have to use a algebra skill called completing the square. So let's do that first. So completing the square is actually pretty simple. And the key to it all is that you have to add b over 2 squared. B is just the middle number. B is the middle number right there, 32, that's b. We're going to divide it by 2 and square it, and that will complete the square. That's the skill that we need to convert our equations in the next page. So 32 divided by 2 is 16, squared is 256. So that's the first step. That's the very, very important step. It is imperative to completing the square. It's the key to the whole thing. It's also really, really easy. Now, what we just did is we completed the square, which means now when we factor this, it's going to be a perfect square. So factoring, remember, it's two numbers that have to multiply to be the back, the 256, and add to equal the 32 in the middle. So two numbers that multiply to be 256, well, we just came up with that by doing 16 times 16. So we know 16 times 16 is 256. And 16 plus 16 is 32. So those are the two numbers. It'll be x plus 16 and x plus 16. Now, we are completing the square because this is a perfect square. X plus 16, x plus 16, you could rewrite that as x plus 16 squared. And if you think back to the equation of a circle, that looks a whole lot like part of the equation of a circle. If we had another one with a y in it, that would look a lot like the equation of a circle. So that's what we're getting at. We need to create the formula, right? Change the formula to the right form using completing the square. So we'll do another one. B over 2 squared, 26 divided by 2 is 13. 13 squared, it's actually negative 13 squared. 169. So two numbers that multiply to be 169 and add to be 26. Like magic, 13 and 13. But it has to be a negative 26, so it's negative 13 and negative 13, which we can simplify to make a perfect square, x minus 13 squared. So again, the magic is all in here, b divided by 2 squared, so negative 8 squared is 64. So then you factor that, multiply by 8, add to be 16, that's 8 and 8 again, actually a negative 8 and a negative 8. It's x minus 8 squared. Same thing here, you'd have to add, you fill in the blank with 11 squared, which is 121. Two numbers that multiply to be 121 and add to be 22 are 11 and 11. So that becomes x plus 11 squared. (36) divided by 2 is 18. 18 squared is 324. So then when we factor this, it becomes m plus 18 and m plus 18, so m plus 18 squared. Negative 36 divided by 2, 18. 18 squared is 324. We just did that. This time, it'll be 18 times 18 and a negative 18 and a negative 18, so y minus 18 squared. So now we're ready to do the bigger problem, which is convert this so that we can graph it. We're going to find the center and the radius and graph it. So we are going to convert it. The first thing that you're going to do to convert is arrange it so it's going to work out nice for you. So you're going to start with x squared. And then the minus 4x. And then we're going to leave a blank so that it looks just like it was on these problems where we were completing the square. We're going to put plus blank. And then we're going to do our y squared plus 2y plus blank equals 20. Now, the only thing that's different about these questions than what we were just doing with that little activity is, since it's an equation, if you add something to the left side of the equation, you also have to add it to the right side of the equation. So when we fill in this blank right here with the b over 2 squared, so we fill that in with 4 divided by 2 is 2, 2 squared is 4. Since we're magically adding 4 to the left side, you also have to add 4 to the right side. just to keep the equation balanced. The same on the left and the right. You do the same thing for the y's. Well, before we do that, let's complete the square. This will be x minus 2 squared. You do the same thing here, so b divided by 2, that's 1 squared is 1. We're adding 1. If you add 1 on the left, you have to add 1 to the right. So now we complete the square there. That becomes y plus 1 squared. Equals, now we just add up all the numbers on the right side. 20 plus 4 plus 1 is 25. So that means from this, we now know our center and the radius. Remember, the center is always from these numbers. It's just the opposite sign because there's a minus built into the equation. So the center is positive 2, negative 1. And the radius, this is r squared, so the radius is 5. So if you know the center and the radius, you can graph. All you do is you go to the center, 2, negative 1, and put a point. And then you measure out the radius. You count out the radius. Radius means you go 5 every direction. It's easy to go 5 units up, down, right, and left. So let's do that. 5 up. 5 to the right. 5 down. And 5 to the left. And you know the circle is going to hit all those points, so you just have to draw the circle now. I'm going to use my circle tool. On your paper, if you want it to be accurate, if you want it to be very smooth and about as good as you can get, you would use a compass. You just put the point on the center, measure it out, and use your compass, spin your compass to make the circle. Here's another one. We want it to be x, all the x's with our blank, so x squared plus 6x and our blank, and then y squared minus 4y and our plus blank. And then this 4, we don't want it on the same side with the x and the y, we want it on the other side. So we're going to move it over, which means we subtract it to the other side. We have a negative 4 over there. So now we fill in those blanks and complete the square. So to fill in this blank, we take 6 divided by 2 is 3, square it, we get 9. Since we're adding 9 here, we have to add 9 on the other side. So when we complete the square, we get x plus 3 squared. Fill in the blank here, so negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Squared, you get 4. So we add 4, which means we add 4 to the other side. And now write it as a square, so that's y minus 2, negative 2, negative 2. Equals, now we add all that up, we get 9. So our center, remember you just have to change the sign, so that's negative 3, positive 2. And our radius, r squared, is 9, which means the radius is 3. So when we graph that, we go to the center, -3, +2, put our point for the center. And the radius is 3, so you go 3 up, 3 right, 3 down, 3 left, and draw the circle. And that's how you graph a circle. Two more. So the first step to graphing is arranging it with your blanks. Move the regular number over the constant term, the 13 in this case. Move it over to make it be -13. So then we fill in those blanks. 1 squared is 1. We add 1. This becomes x plus 1 squared. -8 divided by 2, you get -4. Squared is 16. We add 16. And then our parentheses is the y minus 4 squared. Add up all of our numbers on the right side, that is 4. So the center, you change the signs, -1, +4. And our radius is 2. You have to take the square root. So the center is -1, +4. Put your point, and then go 2 up, right, down, left, draw the circle. So we'll do the same thing. Line everything up, get it in order. And you quickly notice that there's no regular x term. There's nothing here. That's okay. That's good, actually. It's easy. Move on to your y's. Now, the reason it's easy is because we don't need to complete the square. It's already just x squared. You could think of it as x minus 0 squared if you want to. Which means that x coordinate for our center is just 0. There's no number with it, so it's just 0 coordinate, 0 x coordinate. So then we fill in the blanks for the y. Divide by 2 squared, you get 4. So you have to add 4 to the other side. And you get y plus 2 squared equals 9. So our center is 0, -2, and the radius is 3. Square root of 9 is 3. So you put a point at 0, -2 for your center, then go 3 up, 3 right, 3 down, 3 left, and draw the circle.